Welcome to my channel, Crochet for Baby. Thanks for watching. I hope you like and subscribe. In today's tutorial, I'm going to show you how to crochet this little dress for baby girls between 3 and 6 months old. The stitch pattern is so delicate and beautiful, so I hope you like it as well. Now, you can also turn this into a beautiful baptismal gown. All you have to do is just make more rows and make it longer. That would be up to you. The little dress that we're going to make in the tutorial, like I said, is for baby girls between 3 and 6 months old, but you can easily make it smaller or bigger from the newborn baby and up to 12 months. Down here in the information box, I'll go ahead and leave some information on how you can make it smaller or bigger, so be sure to check that out. Now, if you prefer a written pattern, check out my Etsy shop. I'll leave the link to my Etsy shop in the information box as well and in the comments. Thank you for your support. Okay, let's get started, but don't forget, all of my tutorials are always in English and in Spanish. Don't forget to subscribe, activate the notifications bell to all notifications so that you don't miss any of my tutorials. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Thanks for watching. Okay, to crochet this little dress, I'll be using this 3.5mm crochet hook. And today I'm using this number 3 yarn. Now, this is the yarn that I'm using. It's by this brand, Yarn B, and this is in the color white. Now, this here says that this is a medium number 4 yarn. I don't believe it's a number 4 yarn. It's very thin, more like DK weight or number 3 yarn. So I'd recommend that you use a number 3 yarn, DK weight, or a ply. So here to begin, I have a total of 53 chains. This chain here is measuring about 11 inches, which is about 28 centimeters. If you're off by 1 or 2 centimeters, it's okay. Just continue. Also, the stitch multiple to this base chain is multiples of 4 plus 1. So here, to begin, like I said, I have 53 chains. Into the second chain from the hook, 1, 2, I'm going to make a single crochet. Single crochet into the next chain, single crochet into the next, and so on. This is all I'm going to do for the first row. At the end of this first row, I'm going to be left with 52 single crochets. Continue, finish this first row, and I'll meet you at the end. I'm here at the end of this first row. I have a total of 52 single crochets. Now for the second row, we're going to chain 2 and turn. Now these 2 chains from here on do not count. They're just here so that when we finish the yoke, this part here is nice and straight. Now to begin the second row, I'm going to make 3 double crochets, and then into the 4th single crochet, I'm going to make 2 double crochets. So let me show you. Beginning on top of the first single crochet, make a double crochet. That's 1, 2, 3. Into the next, make 2 double crochets. 1 and 2. This is all you're going to do for the rest of this second row. You're going to make 3 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, and into the next 2 double crochets. Now continue like this to the end of this second row. I will meet you there to show you what we need to do next. I finished the second row. Here at the end, I finished by making these last 4 double crochets. At the end of this second row, I have 64 double crochets. Now for the third row, chain 2 and turn. Now in this row, I'm going to make 4 double crochets, then into the next, I'm going to make 2. Let me show you. Beginning on top of the first double crochet, make a double crochet. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. Now into the next, make 2 double crochets. And this is how you're going to continue for the rest of this third row. You're going to make 4 double crochets and into the next 2. 4, 2, 4, 2 until you finish this third row. Continue. I'll meet you at the end. I finished the third row. At the end of this third row, I have 76 double crochets. Now for the fourth row, chain 2 and turn. Now in this row, I'm going to make 5 double crochets, then 2. Let me show you. Beginning on top of the first double crochet, make a double crochet. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 double crochets, and into the next 2. And this is how you're going to continue for the rest of this 4th row. You're going to make 5 double crochets, then 2, 5, 2, 5, 2 until you finish this 4th row. At the end of this 4th row, you're going to have 88 double crochets. I'll meet you at the end of this row. I finished the 4th row. At the end of this 4th row, I have 88 double crochets. Now for the 5th row, we're going to chain 2 and turn. Now in this 5th row, we're going to repeat the same thing we did in the 2nd row. I'm going to make 3 double crochets, then 2, 3, 2, 3, 2 until I finish the row. So let me show you. Beginning on top of the first double crochet, make a double crochet. That's 1, 2, 3. Now into the next, make 2 double crochets. One more time. Make 3 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, and into the next 2 double crochets. This is how you're going to continue for the rest of this 5th row. So continue making 3 double crochets, then 2, 3, 2 to the end of this 5th row. I'll meet you there to show you what we need to do next. I'm here at the end of this 5th row. Up to here I have 100 double crochets. I still have 8 double crochets left. Now here at the end, we're going to finish this row by making 1 double crochet on each one of these double crochets, so that at the end of this 5th row I have a total of 108 double crochets. Now I want to make sure that this last row here is in multiples of 3. So 108 divides into 3. There. So at the end of this 5th row, I have 108 double crochets. Now for the 6th row, chain 3 and turn. Now in this row, what I'm going to do are V stitches. So our first V stitch is going to go into the 3rd double crochet, counting from the beginning. 1, 2, 3 into this 3rd double crochet, make a V stitch. So make a double crochet, chain 2, double crochet, skip 1, 2 and into the 3rd, make a V stitch, skip 1, 2 and into the 3rd, again a V stitch. This is how we're going to continue for this 6th row. We're just going to make these V stitches. Continue, finish this 6th row. I'll meet you at the end. I'm here at the end of this 6th row. I have my last V stitch. Up to here I have 35 V stitches. Now to finish into the last double crochet here, make a double crochet. And this is how I finished the 6th row with 35 V stitches. Now for the 7th row, chain 3 and turn. Now in this 7th row, what I'm going to do inside each one of the V stitches is a fan. Each one of the fans is going to consist of 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2 double crochets. Same thing into the next and into each one of the V stitches. So continue like this for this 7th row. I will meet you at the end to show you what we need to do next. I'm here at the end of this 7th row. This is where we did these fans. I have 35 fans. Now to finish the row, we're going to go into the 2nd chain here at the end and make a double crochet. And this is how I finished the 7th row. Now for the 8th row, chain 1 and turn. Now on top of this first double crochet, make a single crochet. Now chain 2 and inside the first fan into the chain 1 space, make a single crochet, 3 chains, single crochet. Now chain 2 in the middle of these 2 fans right here, make a single crochet, 2 chains, and again inside the 2nd fan into the chain 1 space, make a single crochet, 3 chains, single crochet, again chain 2, and in the middle of the 2 fans, a single crochet. This is how you're going to continue for the rest of this 8th row. And this is how it looks. Continue. I'll meet you at the end to show you what we need to do next. Okay, I finished making the 8th row. Here at the end, I did 2 chains, and into the second chain here at the end, I did a single crochet. Then I cut my yarn and passed my yarn through that last loop, and the yoke is almost done. And this is how it looks so far. It's absolutely beautiful. Now, I'm thinking of doing a little summer dress where I'm going to make the yoke like this, and then I'm going to knit the rest, so stay tuned. Now here I place a stitch marker. This here is marking the right side of the dress. This here is going to be the wrong side, so make sure you put a stitch marker, that way you won't get confused which side is which. So this here is going to be the right side, and this is the inside. This is where we finish, so we're going to go here. The 9th row is going to be worked from the wrong side out. We're going to go into the row of V stitches, which is row 6. In row 6, we did this row of V stitches. So in the middle between the V stitch and the last double crochet, insert your hook right there, grab a loop, bring it through the front, chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Now these 3 chains counts as the first double crochet. Now into this same space here, make a double crochet. Now we have the V stitch right here, and in the middle we're going to push these 2 double crochets here to the side. In the middle like this, insert your hook and make 2 double crochets. Now in the middle of the V stitches, so right here, here's a V stitch and here's a V stitch. So in this space right here, insert your hook there and make 2 double crochets. Now again, we have the V stitch, push the 2 double crochets here, make room so that you can insert your hook right in the middle into the chain 2 space of the V stitch and make 2 double crochets. And this is how we're going to continue for this 9th row. Again, in the middle of the V stitches, make 2 double crochets, and inside the V stitch, 2 double crochets. That's all I'm going to do to the end of this 9th row. Continue. I will meet you at the end of this row to show you what we need to do next. I'm almost done with the 9th row. Now up to here I did my last 2 double crochets inside, and I have a total of 136 double crochets. Now I still have 3 spaces left, 1, 2, 3. So here what I'm going to do is I'm going to make an increase. So into this next space here, I'm going to make 3 double crochets. 1, 2, 3. Now in the middle here where we have the fan, insert your hook and make 2 double crochets here. 1 and 2. Now into the last space, this one here, I'm going to make 3 double crochets. So I'm going to make 2 double crochets first, and then right on top of the double crochet right here, actually these are 3 chains. So insert your hook right there and make a double crochet. Now here at the end of this 9th row, you should have a total of 144 double crochets. I want to make sure that this last row that I did here is in multiples of 6. So 144 is divisible by 6. So now we have 144 double crochets at the end of the 9th row. Now for the 10th row of the yoke, we're going to chain 1 and turn. Now beginning on top of the first double crochet, this one here, I'm going to start my pattern here, and I'm going to make a puff stitch. So yarn over, insert your hook on the first double crochet, grab a loop, yarn over, grab a loop, yarn over, grab a loop, yarn over, grab a loop. Now we grab a loop 4 times, and this leaves us with 9 loops on the hook. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. Now grab a loop and close, chain 1. Make sure that your loops here are nice and loose so that when you close, your hook doesn't get caught in any of the loops. Now we're going to skip 1, 2, and into the 3rd double crochet, I'm going to make a fan. Each one of the fans is going to consist of 2 double crochets, 2 chains, 2 double crochets. Now skip 1, 2, and into the third double crochet, make a puff stitch. So yarn over, grab a loop, yarn over, grab a loop, yarn over, grab a loop. I have 9 loops on the hook, close, chain 1, and repeat. Skip 2 double crochets, and into the third, make a fan. Skip 2 double crochets, and into the third, work a puff stitch. 9 loops, close, chain 1. And this is how you're going to continue for the rest of this 10th row. You're just going to alternate between a puff stitch and a fan, and there is 2 double crochets between the stitches. Now continue like this for the 10th row. I'll meet you at the end. I'm here at the end of the 10th row of the yoke. Now my last stitch here is a fan. I have a total of 48 stitches all around for this 10th row. I'm counting the puff stitch and the fans as 1 stitch. So I have 48. Now here at the end I have 2 double crochets. I'm going to skip these 2 double crochets, and I'm going to go on top of the first stitch of the 10th row, which is the puff stitch that we did. So on top of the puff stitch where we did the chain, join with a slip stitch. And this is how I finished the 10th row. Now we're going to continue and work the rest of the dress in the round. And in the next row, we're going to divide the sleeves. So we're going to start counting rows again. So here, to divide the sleeves, this is how we're going to divide them. I said we have a total of 48 stitches, which includes the fans and the puff stitches. So here for the back side, this is going to be the back side from here on. I have 6 stitches on this side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then into this space I put a stitch marker. For this side I have also 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So in total for the back side I have 12. Now each one of the sleeves has 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then I put a stitch marker. Now this here is going to be the front, so I have 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then the other sleeve 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Perfect. So now in the next row we're going to divide, and this is going to be the first row. So to do this row, I'm going to chain 1, and into this same stitch, which is the top of the puff stitch, insert your hook here and make a double crochet. Actually, we're going to make 2 double crochets, 2 chains, 2 double crochets. Now, inside the chain 2 space of the fan, I'm going to work a puff stitch. So yarn over, grab a loop, 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 9 loops, close, chain 1. And this is how I'm going to continue now until I come to the last stitch here for this panel. So on top of the puff, make a fan. Now inside the chain 2 space of the fan, make a puff stitch. 9 loops, close, chain 1, and now make a fan on top of the puff. And here's the last stitch, so finish with a puff stitch inside the fan. 9 loops, close, chain 1. So for this panel, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stitches. I have my stitch marker. Now to divide the first sleeve, chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Skip 12 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And on top of the puff stitch that's after the stitch marker, make a fan. Now continue with the pattern. So into this fan, you're going to make a puff, fan, puff, fan, puff, fan, puff, fan, puff, fan, puff. I'll meet you right here to show you how we're going to divide the second sleeve. I'm right under the second sleeve. This is the second row. Now from here where we divided the first sleeve, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 pattern stitches. To divide the second sleeve, chain 5. Skip 12 stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and into the puff stitch after the stitch marker, make a fan, make a fan. Now continue with the pattern, so you're going to make a puff, fan, puff, fan, puff. I'll meet you at the end of this second row. I'm here at the end of this first row. This is where we divided the sleeves. I have a total of 24 stitches all around. I have 6 pattern stitches on this side, 6 on this side, and 12 for the front. So that's a total of 24 pattern stitches. Now to finish this row, we're going to go on top of the first double crochet and join with a slip stitch. Now for the second row, we're going to make 2 slip stitches. So make a slip stitch on top of the next double crochet and a slip stitch into the chain 2 space. Now for the second row, I need to start the row with a puff stitch. So chain 1 and into this chain 2 space of this fan, make your puff stitch. 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9 loops, close, chain 1, and then continue with the pattern. So make a fan, puff, fan, puff, fan. I'll meet you right here to show you what we need to do next. Okay, I'm right under the sleeve. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pattern stitches. I have 5 chains here. Now into the second chain, we're going to continue with the pattern. So my next stitch needs to be a puff. So I'm going to work a puff stitch here into the second chain. Now skip 1 chain and into the 4th chain, make a fan. Now into the first fan here for the front side, make a puff stitch. And from here on, you're just going to continue with the pattern until you come to the second sleeve. So you're going to make a fan, puff, fan, puff, fan, puff, fan, puff, fan, puff, fan. I'll meet you right here to show you what we need to do next. I'm right under the second sleeve. Now here, counting from where we started the front, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 pattern stitches. Now I have my 5 chains. Into the second chain, make a puff stitch. And into the 4th chain, make a fan. Now continue with the pattern. So you're going to make a puff, fan, puff, fan, puff, fan. I'll meet you at the end. I'm here at the end of this second row. My last pattern stitch here is a fan. Now in this row, I have a total of 28 pattern stitches. Remember that under each sleeve, we added 2 extra stitches. So that's a total of 28 stitches all around. Now to finish, just go on top of the puff stitch and join with a slip stitch. Now for the third row, chain 1 in this row, I need to start with a fan. So right here into this same stitch, make 2 double crochets, 2 chains, 2 double crochets, and then into the fan, make a puff stitch. From here on, we're just going to continue with the pattern. So on top of the fans, you make a puff, and on top of the puff stitches, you make your fan. Continue like this to the end of this third row. I'm here at the end of this third row. Now at the end of this row, my last stitch here is a puff stitch, and I have a total of 28 stitches at the end of this row. Now to finish, we're going to go here to the side where we have the first double crochet and join with a slip stitch. And this is how I finish the third row. Now for the fourth row and going forward, I'm going to change hook size. I'm going to stop using this 3.5mm hook, and I'm going to now use this 4.5mm hook. If you're making this little dress using any other hook size, just go up a full hook size so that you can do the rest of the skirt here. This is so that we can add some volume to the dress, so that's why I'm going up to a 4.5mm hook. So here, to continue, make a slip stitch on top of the next double crochet, a slip stitch into the chain 1 space, into the chain 2 space. Now chain 1. Now to start the 4th row, I need to work a puff stitch, so make a puff stitch into this chain 2 space, and a fan on top of the puff stitches. Now this part here is the same, you just continue with the pattern. The only difference is that now we're using a bigger hook size. And this is going to add volume to the skirt, since this stitch pattern here is kind of hard to make increases. So this is how I do it whenever I work anything with this pattern. And it all works out at the end. So continue like this all around. I'll meet you here at the end of this 4th row to show you what we need to do next. I'm here at the end of this 4th row. Now at the end of this 4th row, I have 28 stitches. My last pattern stitch here is a fan. To finish, go on top of the puff stitch and join with a slip stitch. And this is how I finished the 4th row. Now for the 5th row, we're going to chain 1. So on top of this puff stitch, I need to make a fan. And into the next, make a puff stitch. From here on, the pattern is the same. On top of the fans, you do a puff stitch, and on top of the puff stitches, you make a fan. And that's how you're going to continue for the rest. Now, remember that the only difference between these 2 rows is the way that you start. So if you have a puff stitch, you start with a fan. If you have a fan, you start with a puff stitch. I'm not sure how many rows I'm going to do here for the rest of the little dress, but continue watching. I will let you know exactly how many rows I'm going to do. And remember that at the end of every row, you're always going to have 28 pattern stitches. I'll meet you at the end of that row. Okay, I'm almost done with the skirt of the little dress. Look how beautiful this stitch pattern is. It's so delicate. If you want to make this part here longer, you can. I have only done 16 rows. So from here where we divided the sleeves up to here, I have done 16 rows. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to make 2 more rows for the bottom of the dress. If you want to continue and make it longer, just make sure that the last row that you do, you end with a fan. So to finish this 16th row, just go on top of the puff stitch and join with a slip stitch. Now for row 17, chain 1. Now in this row, this is what we're going to do on each one of the fans. In the middle of these 2 double crochets, make a double crochet, chain 1. Inside the chain 2 space, make a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet again, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1. And between the last 2 double crochets of this fan, make a double crochet. And this is how it looks. So here we're going to have 5 double crochets with 4 chain 1 spaces on each one of the fans. Now on top of the puff stitches, we're going to make a slip stitch. Again, we have the next fan. Between the 2 double crochets here, make a double crochet, chain 1. Inside the chain 2 space, make a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1 again, and double crochet, chain 1, and finish with a double crochet between the last 2 double crochets. And that's how it looks. Now on top of the puff stitch, make a slip stitch, and let me show you again. Between these 2 double crochets, make a double crochet, chain 1. Inside the chain 2 space, make a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1, and between the last 2 double crochets, make a double crochet. That's all we're going to do. So continue like this to the end of this 17th row. I'll meet you there to show you what we need to do next. I'm here at the end of the 17th row. Now to finish this row, just go on top of the last puff stitch and join with a slip stitch. And this is the 17th row. Now for the 18th row, just turn, don't chain or anything, just turn. Now on top of this last double crochet that I did here, make a slip stitch and a slip stitch into this chain 1 space. Now here, chain 1 and make a single crochet, then chain 3, single crochet into this same chain space. Now we're going to do the same thing on each one of the chain spaces. So jump into the next chain 1 space and make a single crochet, chain 3, single crochet. Same thing into the next chain space, single crochet, chain 3, single crochet. And then into the last chain 1 space, same thing. And here's how it looks. So each one of these fans is going to have 4 chain 3 spaces. Now to continue, just jump to the next chain 1 space of the next fan and make a single crochet, chain 3, single crochet, single crochet into the next chain 1 space, chain 3, single crochet, single crochet, chain 3, single crochet. And into the last chain 1 space of this fan, make a single crochet, chain 3, single crochet. And that's how you're going to continue all around for this last row, and that's what it looks like. Very pretty. So continue. I'll meet you at the end of this last row. Okay, I finished making this last row. Here at the end, all I did was just join to the first single crochet that we did at the beginning with a slip stitch, cut my yarn and pass my yarn through that last loop, and this part here is done, and that's how it looks. It's absolutely beautiful, very simple, and very easy to make. The skirt of the little dress, it's all done. Here's the back side, and here's the front. There. Now we're going to make the sleeves. I already went ahead and did this side. You're going to do it exactly in the same way. So let's go here. This is the front, so we're going to go here to the right side. Right under the sleeve right here, this is where we did these 5 chains. So right in the middle where we have the chain left, here remember we added these 2 stitches. We did a fan and a puff stitch. So right in the middle of these 2 stitches, insert your hook. And to do the sleeves, I'm going to use this 3.5mm hook. We're going to go back to the original hook size that we started. So here, to begin with the same yarn as well, grab a loop here, bring it through the front. Let's see. Chain 1 and into this same space here, make a single crochet. Now this part is exactly the same for the other sleeve, so you're just going to do exactly the same thing. Now here we have the stitch where we divided the sleeves. Right here we did this last puff stitch and then we divided the sleeves. So right into this space right here, insert your hook, and we're going to make a double crochet, but we're not going to close the double crochet. So insert your hook there, grab a loop, leave 2 loops on the hook. Now go into the first puff stitch for the sleeve, which is the stitch after the stitch marker, and here we have to make a fan. So make your first double crochet and close through these 3 loops. So here we did a double crochet decrease. Now we're doing this so that there is no gap between the single crochet and the fan. So that's why I did this stitch here. Now I'm going to complete my fan here. So make a double crochet, chain 1, 2 double crochets. From here on, we're just going to continue with the pattern. So into the fan here, make your puff stitch. And on top of the puff stitch, make your fan. Now continue like this around the sleeve for this first row. Let me finish this. You're going to make a puff stitch, fan, puff, fan, puff, fan, puff, fan, puff. I'll meet you right here to show you how we're going to finish this first row. Okay, I'm here at this other side of the sleeve. This is the first row. Now up to here I have, let's see, I have a fan. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 stitches. My last stitch is a puff stitch. So now here, what I'm going to do is the same thing we did here at the beginning where we did this double crochet decrease. I'm going to do it here because there's a big gap between the puff stitch and the single crochet. So I'm going to go right here, which is halfway. So into this stitch where we have the puff stitch and we have the fan on top, just insert your hook right there. But first, yarn over, insert your hook, grab a loop, take 2 loops off, leave 2 loops on the hook, and now we're going to go here on top of the single crochet and join with a slip stitch. So close these 2 loops. Here's our double crochet decrease at the end. So now for this row we have 12 pattern stitches with a single crochet in the center for the first row. Now for the second row we're going to chain 1, and into this same single crochet just make a single crochet. Now we're going to continue around with the pattern. So here I have to do a puff stitch. So insert your hook into the chain space of this first fan and make a puff stitch. And then continue with the fan on top of the puff stitch. So continue around with the pattern. Here you're going to make a puff, fan, puff, fan, puff, fan, puff, fan, puff, fan. So continue. I'll meet you at the end of this second row to show you what we need to do next. I'm here at the end of this second row. I have 12 pattern stitches all around. Now my last stitch here is a fan. To finish, just go here on top of the single crochet and join with a slip stitch. And this is how I finish the second row. Now I'm not going to continue with the pattern here, but if you want to make your sleeve a little bit longer, you can just continue and work more rows. I'm going to make a short sleeve, so what I'm going to do next here in the third row is I'm going to chain 1 and into this same stitch here make a single crochet. Now on top of the puff stitches work 1 double crochet, and for each fan here make 4 double crochets. Don't do anything into the chain space. So just work these 4 double crochets, skip the chain space, and make 2 double crochets. Again, we have a puff stitch, make a double crochet on top, and then work these 4 double crochets. So 1 double crochet for each double crochet, skip the chain space here of the fans. Continue like this all around for this third row. I'll meet you at the end to show you what we need to do next. I'm here at the end of this third row. This is where we did double crochets all around. Up to here I have 30 double crochets plus the single crochet here at the beginning. Now to finish, we're going to go here on top of the single crochet and join with a slip stitch. Now for the fourth row, what I'm going to do is I'm going to chain 1 and into this first stitch, which is the first single crochet, make a single crochet. Now I'm going to make 3 single crochets and then I'm going to make a decrease. So work 3 single crochets, and into the next 2 work a single crochet decrease. So insert your hook, grab a loop, insert your hook into the next, grab a loop, 3 loops, close. Again, make 3 single crochets, 1, 2, 3, and into the next 2 make a single crochet decrease. And this is all we're going to do all around. Continue. I'll meet you at the end of this fourth row to show you what we need to do next. I'm here at the end of this fourth row. This is where I did single crochets with decreases. I have a total of 25 single crochets. Now if you have 1 or 2 stitches less or more, it's okay. Just finish the row and continue with the next 2 rows. So here to finish, just go on top of the first single crochet and join with a slip stitch. Now for rows, let's see, 5 and 6, we're just going to chain 1 and into the first single crochet make a single crochet, single crochet into the next, single crochet into the next, and so on. You're just going to continue like this all around for the 5th row. When you finish this row, you're just going to join here to the beginning with a slip stitch, chain 1, and then repeat the same thing for the 6th row. So continue, finish these next 2 rows, and then I'll come back and show you what we need to do next. Okay, I finished making these 3 rows of single crochet. Here at the end of the 3rd row, I just joined to the beginning with a slip stitch, cut my yarn and passed my yarn through that last loop, and the sleeve is all done. Now you're going to do exactly the same thing we did here on this side. You're going to do it here on this side. It's done exactly in the same way. I already did mine. That's how it looks. Now we're going to go here to the back side. We're going to fix this part here, and we're going to add a buttonhole here on the left side. So this is the back. We're going to go here to the right, and we're going to go right into the first chain. I have this end here, so into this same stitch here, insert your hook. I'm using the original hook size, the 3.5mm hook. I'm going to grab a loop here, chain 1, and into this same stitch here, make a single crochet. Now we're going to work our way down, and here once we get to this part where I did the yoke, make sure that we also make single crochets to hold this part. So let's see, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I have 10 single crochets so far. I think that looks pretty good. Now there's no right or wrong way of doing this, just make sure that it looks nice. Now we have this end here. We're going to make sure to go through the double crochet here at the end and through this double crochet. Now into the end here and through the puff stitch, make another one. To the side of the puff stitch, make 1. And let's see, right in the middle where we joined into that stitch, make a single crochet. Let's see how many I have. I have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 single crochets. So along this side I did 13, and then the one in the middle is that one stitch, so that's 14. Now we're going to continue along this side and do the same thing. Make sure that you do the same number of stitches. For me, I have 13. You can have more or less. The important thing is that this part here looks nice. So into this double crochet, make 1. Then I'm going to go into this single crochet at the end here of the ruffle here for the yoke, and insert my hook through there and through the stitch behind it, right there, and then along the edge. Let's see, right there, and then continue working single crochets until you come here to the end. I will meet you right here to show you how we're going to make that buttonhole. Okay, I'm almost done with the back side. Up to here I have 12 single crochets. I still have one more stitch left. So here to make our buttonhole, I'm going to chain 2, and into the last stitch here, which is the chain, I'm going to make a single crochet. Now I chained 2 here because I have these buttons. These are 8mm buttons. These are perfect to go through the 2 chains that I did. Now if you want to use smaller, then make sure that the 2 chains here is big enough for the buttons that you're going to use. These are the buttons that I'm using. These are from Hobby Lobby, and they're 8mm. So now what we're going to do here along the neckline is we're going to do the following. Here I did my last single crochet, so now chain 3, skip 1 chain stitch, and into the next make a slip stitch. Chain 3, skip 1 chain stitch, and into the next make a slip stitch. Chain 3, skip 1 chain stitch, and into the next make a slip stitch. This is how we're going to continue all around. I will meet you here at this end to show you what we need to do next. Okay, I finished making this row here around the neckline. Here at the end, I just joined to the single crochet that we did here when we did this part with a slip stitch, cut my yarn, passed my yarn through that last loop. I also went ahead and attached my button here, and here's the buttonhole that we did. And this part here is all done. And that's how it looks. Now here what I did was, if you notice, I have a ribbon here. This ribbon is, let's see, this is 1/4 of an inch ribbon in this pink color, and all I did was just start here in the back side, and I went through the row of V stitches. I went in, out, in, out, in, out, and I just weaved this ribbon all around that row. Here at the end, all I did once I was done was just tied a little knot here at the end, and I'm just going to cut and burn the end here so that it doesn't come undone. So you can do the same thing. Now in the front here, I went ahead and attached these little rosebuds, and I also did this little bow here. This bow, you can just go on YouTube and search how to make bows, and which is what I did. You just do it with your fingers. So you can search how to make bows with your fingers, which is what I did. And I attached the little rosebuds right in the center. And this part here is done. Now the little dress is all done, but I think that the yoke here where we did this ruffle needs a bit of color so that it pops. So this is what we're going to do. This should have been done when I was doing the collar here, but regardless, this is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to show you how it's done. So to begin here, we're going to go here to the back side. This is optional. If you want to leave it like this, it's fine. You can also, if you haven't started your little dress, this last row that we did in white where we did the chains, you can also do it in another color, and that way you don't have to do this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this yarn. This is DK weight yarn, and this is also cotton yarn. And I'm going to use this 3mm hook to do this. So to do this, we're going to go here. This is the back side, so we're going to go here to the left. And right here where we have the last single crochet that we did in the last row of the yoke, this is the row of chains. We're going to now attach the yarn here to this single crochet. I'm going to grab a loop. This row is going to be worked from the wrong side out. So this here is the wrong side of this ruffle. This is the top of it, so this is right under it. So that's where I'm going to go all around and do this. So to begin here, I'm going to chain 3. Make sure that you leave a nice little tail here so that when we're done, we can hide this on the inside, and that way you won't be able to even see that this was done after the dress was done. So let's see. Insert your hook, grab a loop, bring it through, chain 3. One, 2, 3. Now here we have our first chain 2 space. Into this chain 2 space, make a slip stitch, chain 3. Now we have the chain 3 here, make a slip stitch, chain 3, and then back into the same space and make a slip stitch. Now chain 3, into the chain 2 space, make a slip stitch, chain 3, into the next chain 2 space, make a slip stitch, chain 3, and now we're back to the chain 3 space, make a slip stitch, chain 3, slip stitch again into that space, chain 3, slip stitch into the chain 2 space, chain 3, slip stitch into the next chain 2 space, chain 3, and again we're back to the chain 3 space here, make a slip stitch, chain 3, slip stitch into this same stitch or space, chain 3, and then slip stitch into the next chain 2 space. This is how we're going to continue all around, and this is how it looks. See how it pops now? That's what I wanted. So I'm going to continue like this all around, so I will meet you here at this end to show you how it looks and give you the finished measurements of the little dress. Okay, I finished making this last row. Here at the end, I just did my last slip stitch into the last stitch here at the end, and then I just cut my yarn and passed my yarn through that last loop, and this part here is done. Now all you have to do is just hide this end. I would do it on the inside. So the little dress, it's all done. This is how it looks here on the back side, and here's the front. This is how it looks. I'm so glad I went ahead and did this last row because now, as you can see, the yoke pops. You can clearly see that there's a row here for the yoke, and so there it is. It's absolutely beautiful. I hope you like it as well. Now let me give you the finished measurements. From the neckline up to the end of the sleeve, it's measuring about 14 centimeters, which is about 5.5 inches. The length from the top of the shoulder down to the end of the last row here at the bottom, it's measuring about 37 centimeters, which is about 14.5 inches. Now this part here right across, it's measuring about 11.5 centimeters, which is about 4.5 inches. Now the chest measurement, just the top, it's measuring about 23 centimeters, which is about 9 inches. So based on these measurements, this little dress here is for baby girls between 3 and 6 months old. Now you can also make it smaller or bigger, I'd say from a newborn baby and up to 9 to 12 months. Down here in the information box, I'll go ahead and leave some information on how you can make it smaller or bigger, so be sure to check that out. So the little dress, it's all done. It's absolutely beautiful. Remember that if you want to make this into a nice little christening or baptism gown, you can just make more rows and make it longer. And you can make it smaller or bigger, as I mentioned. Comment below and let me know if you want me to make the matching little bonnet. The baby blanket, I'm working on that right now, so I'll go ahead and show you that in another tutorial. Okay, so this was today's tutorial. I hope you like it. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time.